turn away.
Come on, they want the authentic thing. The authentic Fazbear experience.
One of the great things about being on a big film set like Five Nights at Freddy's is that the work that they do to develop the world, the environments, is incredible. On the first film, the pizzeria was like every corner was detailed. You know, the ball pit, the games, all of it was built by hand by these incredible artisans. The exciting thing is that on this film, they've done it again, and they've gone even bigger and better.
The sets are so one-to-one with the game. You step on it, and you're in a new dimension inside of the game. I was wondering if I was wearing a VR headset.
The new pizzeria is crazy. I was blown away with the Freddy's 1 pizzeria, and this one just like upped the stakes so much. I mean, there's a river, there's like a merry-go-round. It's like 2 times the size. It's very impressive.
There's a gondola, and there's, you know, I mean, my God, I couldn't believe it. It's like going to Vegas in a weird way. It was so full and complete. It had a nostalgic feeling for me. I felt like I was in a place in the past that was powerful, real, in a way that had an effect on kids, and that's the dream.
It was exactly the kind of place I would want to be as a kid. It was kind of bright and colorful, and yeah, I was blown away. And then a few weeks later, got to see it aged and decrepit.
It really just brought to life these fantastical little places that I've grown up always wondering what they'd look like in person. They had like the front of the pizzeria built, and getting to drive up to that and see the sign was so surreal. It puts you there. You don't need to get into character or into a scene whenever you're on a set like that, because it just puts you in the place that you're supposed to be, because you're there.
The carousel is something that I was passionate about, that I wanted to recreate exactly like the game. It's a very iconic feature in the game when you see images of the dining room. We targeted that and really extracted all the details. I want people to feel like they are in the game.
There's like a little boat ride. Some days whenever I was doing my little exploring, you know, I would go down the tunnel and I'd have my flashlight out and I'd be looking around, and the walls are like lined with these tiny little freaky marionette guys. Ugh, freaks. They're so scary. It was terrifying and dark and really cool, but really scary.
The river is 5 feet wide. It's about 200 feet long and 4.5 feet deep. So that's a large volume of water, and that's a lot of water pressure. So we've always had this crew that their job is to inspect and look for leaks and then to mitigate them as soon as they see them. Another thing we always do as a precaution is we drain the entire river when we're done shooting it, and then we'll fill it back up again when we're ready for it. And part of the changeover was to get this nice, very sparkling, clean river and get it down to look like water that has been sitting there for 20 years. Draining it in between, I got to really sort of rust out and algae up the walls inside, and then special effects had different tests they did with the dye in the water to make it look older and murky and cloudy, but it's all just vegetable dye, so it's pretty safe.
We have water safety on set because there are boats floating on a river on a set, which is pretty extraordinary.
Fair warning, this place will prey on your imagination if you let it. The production design team did such an amazing job of making the sets feel like a character in the film. And it really helps as an actor when the sets are so sort of lived in and full of life themselves.
Awesome.
Music box set is wild. I don't know what I was expecting. When you read a script, you know, you have all these images in your head. It was really exciting.
I think anytime anyone walked into that music box room, there was a little bit of a jaw drop moment.
When I first saw it, it was still being worked on and there were kind of working lights on, and I sort of thought, oh, okay, well, that's impressive, but I don't know how scary that is. And then when I filmed in there, you didn't really have to pretend to be scared.
I wanted you to feel like you were actually inside of a music box with all the big gears around you and the mechanisms that would control and move things and manipulate things. And that idea spawned calling this chamber the nerve center of the pizzeria. And I decided this is a great moment to take the audience back into more of the realm of the game as opposed to just reality.
It was a small set, so you walk on it and you don't feel the impact of the outside world very much. You really feel like completely enveloped. It made it challenging to shoot in, but it also looked incredible on film, so it was well worth it.
It's so small, my initial reaction was, how are we gonna fit all these puppeteers in here? But what was so cool is that they actually had a bottom floor that Amanda was underneath. A bunch of us were on top, and the walls actually moved so the camera could actually get really in there.
I feel like I walked onto a set that's like a crossover between The Wizard of Oz and like a Tim Burton film. It was just so evocative of a world and creepy, but magical and mysterious. And then once we actually got to put the marionette in there as well, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so creepy.
And then the tunnel and stairs leading down to this mysterious room. I just spent some time in Paris before I started this movie, and I remember going through the catacombs, and I was very inspired by their look and their textures and their shape. So we have a little bit of Parisian hallways.
Welcome to Freddy's.
The FNAF fans are like pro Easter egg hunters. It's incredible. They might even see things there that we didn't even know were Easter eggs, which is impressive.
The one thing I learned about Easter eggs is you have to put in quite a few because you never know where the camera's going to be pointed. You never know what shots are going to be trimmed to what and what's going to end up on the cutting room floor. So you want to make sure that you have enough in there so that they remain in the movie. We would put things like refrigerator magnets on the refrigerator that were very specific to the game. We have a cupcake on the refrigerator facing you when Debbie's mother opens the refrigerator and then closes it to reveal Bonnie standing behind her. We created a little podium for Will Afton that would have a microphone and some controls that would start the show. And on it, we created a little miniature Showtime button that is replicated of the Showtime button that we saw in the first film, which was next to the stage, which we would presumably push to start the show.
It was really interesting seeing the Easter eggs, especially like the paper pals. They were just there and I saw them and I was like, it's the paper pals.
The Paper Pals paper plate characters that we constructed exactly like what's in the game. So when you see them, you'll recognize them right away. They are there. I want to move them around during shooting so that they make an appearance in a few different strategic places. We would put the Easter eggs in places in the security office, taped to the bulletin board, on the desk, posted on the monitor, the page that the Rolodex is turned to.
One of the parts of this office that ended up being very difficult is this cup that, as you know, if you're a fan, is a very iconic piece in the game. They do not make this cup. We had to manufacture this cup. We print each and every decal. They are hand peeled off and then laid on by hand to do each cup. So we only have about 100 of them. And during the opening scene when the place is alive with children, they kind of were like, do we have any more cups? Because they were kind of getting a little crushed. And I was like, I'm sorry. Another part of the game that's really iconic are these colorful stars that hang in the corner of the security office in both corners. So I kind of narrowed in the very beginning after I read the script and looked at the reference imagery from the game and played the game. They were really hard to see in the game, but if you zoom in, they're like faceted stars.
3, 2, 1, action.
We have this long hallway that is just lined with collages of framed photographs. And I found this photograph of these two children and that were dressed in this outfit that, to me, when I saw them, I said, these are strikingly like the marionette. I thought, I'll put these on the wall and call it William Afton's inspiration photo for creating the marionette. It's just sort of up there on the wall for you to either decide that or not. That's why it's there. I decided that it'd be great to set the clocks to 5:59, just 1 minute before 6 a.m. in the game, which is when your shift is over, which means you've made it through another night at Freddy's.
There's one Easter egg in this film that we added in post. I think it's so exciting. I don't know if everyone will catch it on the first view. It's a split second where we see a glimpse of Shadow Bonnie in the corner of the pizzeria office right before he turns on a flashlight.
A lot of young people are very invested in the game and they're going to be watching it and somebody's going to see something and then somebody else is going to notice another piece from the game. It's like a sporting event for a horror film.
I think I found a real one.